Good afternoon, everyone. I hope we're all good with the energy levels after lunch. Is everyone awake? We're okay? Perfect. So we're going to be talking about open data. So I hope everyone's cool with that. My name's Jason. This is Stan. We work for the Pacific Community, which is an organization that's based in Noumea, New Caledonia. Founded in 1947 to provide technical assistance to the countries and territories of the Pacific. In our case, we mostly deal with statistics and open data. And we, in the case of my division, we collect data, we do censuses and surveys around the Pacific, build products around that, and disseminate it out. But we have other organizations within SPC, Pacific Community, that do fishing, everything involving the Pacific. So again, we're headquartered in Noumea, New Caledonia, but we have offices everywhere in the Pacific, including Fiji, Micronesia, Solomon Islands, and Tonga. As part of our work, we have to do a lot of outreach, not only to collect the data, but also to educate and make sure people know that the data that we collect is available for public use. And we do a lot of that just in general with promotion of the Pacific Data Hub, which is what Stan works on, which is our open data portal. But we also want to engage just the general public about what open data is and how you can use it to make cool things. So that's why we created something called the Pacific Dataviz Challenge, which is in its 4th year or 5th year? Yeah, so it's the 5th edition this year, and it's about to open up. I'll give dates at the end of the presentation. And what this is an international competition where you can win real money to create either static or interactive Dataviz that uses the open data that we collect and that's in the Pacific Data Hub. And basically, if you don't know what data visualization is, I'm sure most of you do, but it's just using data to tell stories. That's essentially all it is. And it can take the form of graphs, maps, charts, anything. And if you, after this presentation, go to our website, you can see some very, very cool examples of how to tell stories with data from our previous entries. So this is last year's challenge, which was focused on the oceans and ocean data. And we had submissions from all over the world. It's not just for people in the Pacific. It's an open competition, international, and it was record-breaking in every metric that you can count as far as the participation and the reach that we got. And this year, we're hoping to get it even further. So just as to kind of define terms here, static Dataviz is basically just an image. It doesn't necessarily matter the format of the image, but it's a static image that shows data. So simple things is like chars, maps, charts, that kind of thing. Yes. And yeah, credit where credit's due, echoes of the unprotected sea from the winners and from Spain. And this is an example of an interactive Dataviz, which is something that is either moving, like this one is, or requires user intervention to have the data be progressed through the story. And this is one of the this was also the international winner from Indonesia, paying the heaviest of the carbon debt never occurred, showing how climate change is proportional or unproportionally distributed throughout the world. So I'm going to hand it over to Stan to kind of talk about how we built our Dataviz website, first from the front-end perspective, and then I'll talk about the tools that we built for our internal. So, Stan.
All right. So in terms of a website itself, the requirements were having a one-page website, mostly a one-page, because we have all the information about the contest in one single page. But we have different blocks in that page depending on the... But you can hear me, right? Yeah, okay. All right, so, and those blocks, we have to switch them on and off depending on the phase of the contest. So as the layout changes, we may want pop-ups depending again on the time. And we have links to previous editions with all the list of contestants and winners. And so we need something very flexible. So this is a list of the sections we have, and As you can see, different phases: launch, when the challenge is running, when it's closed, and then announcing the winners. So, a bit of history, because as we said, this is the 5th year. The first year we had just a static HTML website. Then we decided, hey, I can't. We work with Drupal, let's do it in Drupal. Then we said, let's go fancy and decouple the website and use Next.js. And we also introduced the judging app, which was done by another co-organizer using Glide apps. And while we moved to Next.js, we used Tailwind CSS because that's kind of what goes with Next.js. By the way, a few questions for you. How many of you prefer using Tailwind than Bootstrap? Okay, 2. That's okay. How many of you prefer using other frameworks or just go native CSS rather than Bootstrap? A few. So basically, most of you are happy with using Bootstrap. No. Yes. Okay. All right. Anyway, since we moved to we implement some kind of design system with Tailwind CSS, we had to kind of stick with it. Well, we chose to stick. It's a personal choice, really, as you know. But we wanted to lose Glide apps, and we want to go just use open source tools all the way. We found out that actually decoupling using Next.js was not such a good idea. It was an interesting experience, but it was very difficult to implement the forms, decouple the forms that we have, and very difficult to maintain year after year when we had to make design changes and all that. And we needed another way to integrate the full process from collecting the submissions, judging them, and publish the results. So we thought, let's go full Drupal. Drupal. So, Drupal backend and frontend. We created the Judge app from scratch, basically, what we had before. We just got some ideas, but we re-implemented it. Jason did. And we kept using Tailwind CSS. The problem is we couldn't really find any theme based on Tailwind, so we had to redo it. But at least everything is open source, everything is in one place. From collecting to publishing results, it's all streamlined, and we can reuse it every year and keep the archives and everything. So, Tailwind, since nobody really likes it, well, only a few of us, but still, what I've found in using Tailwind, better control over design, find it easier to customize, again, probably a personal choice, and definitely a smaller CSS bundle. Cons, well, as I said, couldn't really find something to start with, so which meant more dev work initially, and it required a build step, as in creating the CSS bundle. So we got started based on stable 9 theme. We customized the Tailwind variables and created some components. We used the paragraphs module to make that layout on the home page flexible, and we had some custom components for the menu, the carousels showing videos, the pop-ups, which we can enable, disable, a countdown, which you can see on the home page if you currently go to the website, and a nice timeline to show different steps of the contest. For local environment, we use DDEV, Tailwind CSS, CLI compiler. We push everything to GitHub because we share between Jason and I the code. If I do something, he reviews it, If it does something, I review it through pull requests, and we deploy through Docker using GitHub Actions on our different servers, dev, UAT, and production. That is it for me, and I'll give it back to Jason.
Sorry, I have to do photo work too. I'm multitasking the presentation. So Stan does the pretty stuff. I do the back-end stuff. That's kind of our work split. I don't do pretty. So I have to deal with web form. So what we do for just the application, if someone wants to submit something, it's a web form. I mean, it's Drupal. This is what we do. But we want to also keep hard records. We don't want to go in and like change the form object and modify the fields. We want to have continuity of the data. So what we do is we use a system where we take the web form submission, we map it to a Dataviz content type with equivalent fields, and then that gets thrown into our judging application. Hold on, I got to pose. Thanks. So we're using web form and a bunch of web form ecosystem modules, and lots of built-in and custom conditionals and validations, because we have to take this form through a bunch of legal things that require lots of very specific validations that unfortunately web form doesn't do out of the box. My kind of philosophy as a quote-unquote developer is I don't want to write code unless I absolutely have to. In this case, I absolutely had to. So what we do is we collect just the general application data. We do a lot of file uploads. We have to, of course, if it's an image, they have to upload their Dataviz. We also have to upload a bunch of forms if they're underage. So it's a very complicated web form. And then what we do is we take the web form content and we map it to an actual content type using the web form content creator module, which whoever created that, I will send you several plates of cookies, because that really saved us. And this allows us to maintain the web form as a set in stone if we ever have to go back to it for legal reasons or compliance reasons. And then we have the content type where we can make changes as needed, and we can set fields. If this one is the winner, we click a nice checkbox inside that content type to make it nice and gold and have a trophy later on. Spoilers. So this is where most of the dev went into the site, is in the actual judges application. So we're using, everything is rolled into one Drupal app, but a lot of this is in the back end. What we need to do is just basically the management of organizing all of these submissions. We had 200 to 300. Do you remember the exact number last year? Yeah, so that had to be manually checked, verified, made sure it followed all the rules of the competition. So there's lots of human intervention in all this. So we had to have nice, pretty views for our people to go in and check everything and make sure everything was compliant. And this went into 5 phases. And again, thank you to the people who made the voting API module ecosystem. That also was a great help. So first, pre-selection. If someone follows the rules, they get green. If they don't follow the rules, they get red. Simple color system. But we have to go in and check every single one manually and then approve it to go on to the next phase. And then we have internal judging. So we have a panel within our internal working group that goes in and whittles down a list of 200 to maybe 20, because we have another judging round at the end for external judges to choose the final winners. But we don't want to have them go through 200 submissions. That's torture in some countries. So what we do is we just have 4 different criteria that we rate the Dataviz on, 1 to 5 stars, and then we average out that to a 1 to 5 score. And again, this is just a bunch of views with really fancy controls where you can go boom, 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 rating done. And then it goes away. So you never see it again, unless you really want to. Don't laugh. Then it just goes into another round. We have our final judging. And eventually, the person who gets the highest score in each category, as I said, gets turned gold. And you can see it kind of here in the corner. They get a trophy emoji. That's just in the back end. They get a bigger trophy on the front end. That's Stan's work. I only deal with emoji. So this is, in a few slides, just a handful of different views, but there's lots of complex systems underneath it to make it work and also follow our compliance rules. We are, for better or for worse, international government organization, and we have lots of rules we have to follow. So the business logic is built into the app, and hopefully it doesn't change in the coming years. So that's essentially what we did for last year, and coming into this year, we're reusing the site for the second time this year. And some lessons learned. And Stan, you could probably come back up for some of these. Yeah, this first one's yours.
Yeah, so I already mentioned that, but decoupling with Next.js sounded cool, but it can be hard. Really depends on the context, I guess. Building a Tailwind CSS theme required, maybe not anymore, but at the time it required a lot of upfront work. But it did save some time for us. Actually, this year we redesigned it, changed the design a bit, but it was easy mostly because we designed it from the ground up, I guess. That's next is for you.
Yeah, it's basically what I've already said. Is my biggest success is if I can implement something in Drupal using only contrib modules without writing a single line of PHP. That's a good day for me. Unfortunately, in this case, we had lots of really custom stuff that was very important to us, and we had to get it implemented. So there was lots of custom development that we didn't necessarily expect in the beginning of the project. But now that that's implemented, we have a solid system that we can reuse year over year. And as this challenge grows, and we expect it to grow hopefully exponentially over the next few years, it will be a solid system to build on for the future. So yeah, apparently code is important. And that is what I will leave you with today. So ladies and gentlemen, I'd just like to direct you to pacific-datavizchallenge.org. The challenge will start in 18 days. If you're interested in submitting Dataviz or just wanting to follow the competition, take a look at the site. Everyone is welcome to submit. And this year, we hope to really expand our reach. So if you're interested in open data and you want to make something pretty, this is where you go. Thank you.
Is there a microphone thing, or should I just...
There's no mic in this room, so I'm confusedly getting in the way. But just, I think we'll repeat the question. Yeah.
I'll just ask a question. No. 2 questions. First one is, when you found that there was a whole bunch of stuff that you had to write custom modules because there was no contrib, did that generate any new contrib?
At the moment, no, because what we did was very, at least in my mind, custom for us, and we don't know how useful it would be for outside. There was also just lots of patching of existing modules, especially in the voting aspect of it, because we had to have very specific rules for how we wanted to average things out and all that.
Were they patches from issue queues, or did they go out again to issue queues, or did they just get patched locally?
Just patched locally.
Okay.
If anyone wants to, run their own Dataviz challenge, let us know. We can give you the source.
Yeah, I'm kind of like Billy No Mates of I had to create this patch because of this, so here it is, guys, and then I'll just leave it on an issue queue somewhere.
Yep.
Second point is, you said you went with stable 9 to extend to do stable. What was the choice of choosing that as the thing to extend to Tailwind?
Didn't have enough time to look for a real one. No, really, it's just, wanted to start with a very basic one. We didn't, as I said, it's just one page, couple of pages, 2 templates. So let's keep it simple. The idea was to keep it as lightweight as possible. So let's start with a basic one.
Go ahead.
Great. I saw that you mentioned web form content creator module or something. I never heard of that before, but I guess it's sounds like when people submit something, it will create a node of a certain content type with the fields mapped.
Yep.
Great. So my question, two questions. One is, what if you run the same competition different years and you have like different data? So maybe a new field in this new year, and then like next year, okay, this old field is no longer redundant, and it's redundant now. Does that mean like you're deleting historical data because of some fields not required anymore, or you like create a new content type, like a matching field every year, and it kind of just keeps growing because then you don't need to delete the old fields?
Right.
And my second question is, okay, maybe a niche, but is that module able to be used for existing submissions, so it can like retrospectively create like the content, I guess, for those submissions to run like reports on? I guess that's why.
Right. Question one. We've only been doing this for 2 years, so we haven't had too much changes in fields. We did add a few this year. We're trying to encourage team submissions, so we have more fields relating to team information. So we've added, but we haven't deleted yet. So in that event, if we have to delete something or change it around, I would definitely try to preserve as much as I can. The historical data that we keep in the system, like from past competitions, is very minimal. So, and if we have to we basically would do an export of previous data just to keep it in the back drawer just in case we need. So that's good. As far as I know, and I could be wrong here, so I'm not an authoritative source of information, but I think it's just on the trigger of the web form submission being created, and then that runs this the content creator. But I may be wrong.
Oh, okay. Yep. Thanks. Yep.
Is this just the one language? And is that the plan going forward, or is it multilingual?
So we are a multilingual organization in English and French. So they can be in English and French as part of our competition rules. If you want to include other languages in your submission as an additive to that, that's of course that's possible.
Do you have to consider AI-generated submissions? Like, is that allowed in the rules? Is that something that you have to deal with? And also related to that, like you said, you got 250 submissions last year. Did you also get 10,000 spam submissions?
Second question first. We opened the competition last year sometime in May, and within, I think it was the first several days, we got maybe 30 to 40 submissions from one country that I won't name, from one school that I won't name, and one country I won't name. So yes, there was lots of submissions that were not of the quality bar that we need. As far as AI, do we have that officially in the rules?
Yeah, you are allowed to use AI to create your Dataviz.
But again, it's if you just say ChatGPT, make me a Dataviz, and then send exactly what it won't meet our quality threshold. That's why we do not only a pre-selection round to make sure it fits our rules, but also an internal round is to kind of weed out those applicants. Unless it's a really good AI one. Props to you. Nice prompt engineering.
Well, follow-on question then. Have you considered if you want to use AI to help with the pre-selection, like automatically flag rubbish submissions?
I mean, it's certainly something that if we grow as we expect we will grow in the next few years, I think it might be necessary. So we'll see what happens in 18 days. And we might have to employ something like that.